Well, we have the carpenter here today to talk about the roof. So he's going to come, it sounds like the beginning of March. But he's here today because I want to put skylights in the ceiling, in the roof, up for the art studio. So he's going to come and take a look and help me figure out which ones would make sense. Chloe. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Ah ouais, ah oui, ça. Il y a la source qui passe.
Ouais, la source, exactement. On risque pas de.
Ouais, c'est impressionnant, mais.
Il rigole. Regarde,
Oui.
ça sort de là, de la falaise.
Et ça sort de partout, quoi.
On a creusé tout le long.
Oh là là, c'est le travail là.
Ça coule quoi.
À nettoyer là, le travail que ça a dû être.
Ah, c'était du boulot, ouais.
Oh là
On a
là.
creusé à des endroits 30, 40, 50 cm de profondeur.
Bravo, hein.
Ouais, c'était fatigant, ouais.
Et ouais. Bravo. Alors.
Je reste ici.
Pas de problème. Pas de. Je comprends. Ça fait pas cher.
Ça avait mal démarré. Hein.
D'accord.
Et alors, je disais avant votre arrivée que ma belle-mère qui habitait là, c'était...
Non, là, c'est la maison. Elle est là. Non,
moi, ça, c'est la nôtre.
Ils l'ont fait avec l'eau potable.
This is another passage where a ton of water comes through. And this is why we've been losing trees on the road, because this becomes a waterfall. Takes out all the trees on its way. So now we're talking about the drainage down this driveway that leads to the pump. And they're talking about putting a wall there, I think. And obviously there's nowhere for any water to drain in front of this driveway, which is also a problem. So I guess they're trying to figure out what they can do.
Et les gens disaient, si on veut couper parce qu'on veut voir la vue.
The officials are checking it out. It sounds like the town is going to pay for a scan.
Ça va retomber d'autres.
Prendre les choses dans l'ordre.
And yeah, that's what I know so far. So basically a geologist report, and then we'll go from there. So it's just one step at a time. And we're looking.
Et après,
up
voilà,
at
il y
the
a eu
hill.
des coupes ici, a priori, comme disait.
So this is the old crevice, and that is the new crevice. And there's just this small part of land that holds them back, holds the whole hill together right now. So that's why it's probably going to need to come down at some point. So, yeah, and right behind us here, this is where the pump is and where all the water comes down the chute there. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Okay, so I thought I would test out some paint colors for the bedroom, and I have an entire bag of paint samples that I thought I could mine so that I wouldn't have to go out and get more paint samples. So I've got kind of a light green. I suppose that could work. I don't think that's going to work. Ash gray. Don't think I'm into a gray. That's too dark a blue. Okay, so we have shadow white, which is a Faro and Ball color. As much as I would love to have Faro and Ball paints, I find them a little hard to get. There's one shop in town that sort of sells them, but not a lot of colors, and then you have to order the paints, and I'm not that organized. So if I want to paint, I want it that day. But this company, you can just take them the paint sample and they will match it. So that's what I do. So I thought I would I saw Anna and Philip on their YouTube channel. What is it? How to Renovate a Chateau. And Anna was painting on pieces of paper, so she'd have big samples. And I thought that was kind of a good idea. I don't really have big paper, but I had this, I guess it's like wallpaper that you're supposed to put on the ceiling. It's kind of furry on one side, but I think the other side is meant to be painted. So I'm going to give that a whirl as my paper. There's a Parma Gray, which is kind of more of a blue. Maybe I'll try that. So a lot of these I bought as potential samples for the shutters, but there's a number of others as well. There's a Blanc Cassé, broken white. I think that's too dark. Oh, that's definitely too dark. And then we've got white tie, that might work. And I think the rest are these blue colors, so I'm not going to bother with those. So, yeah. Okay. Now, I should probably have this table covered a little bit, so maybe I'll just use a chunk of this. So I'm never going to use this paper on a ceiling, I don't think. I'll just cut a piece. My lovely painting suit on. I am all ready. So I hope I can write on this fluffy. I don't know if I can. All right, so I'm going to write the name. All right, Shadow White first. Ooh, it needs some stirring. Didn't think of that. Seems a little gray. White tie. That could be nice. It's a little yellower. I have kind of this idea of it being a little bit of a warm white. Okay, I have to wash out the brushes for the other colors. All right, so this is one of the greens, Vert de Terre. Ooh, too dark, I think. But maybe a trim color. I think this is the trim color I used in the green room, the entry room, the Diablo room, the yoga room. There's so many names for that room. This is the Parma Gray. Again, kind of dark, probably better as a trim color. And then this one, just have to make sure it's water-based sometimes. Okay. Sometimes they are not. All right, last but not least. I like that one, but we'll see how it looks. Okay, let those dry. All right, well, I must say, I've got the colors all taped up now. It's interesting on video, they look much darker than they do in real life. Sorry folks, I don't know how to fix that. Right now, I don't know, I think it's probably a toss-up between these two. I kind of like the warmer white. That's kind of interesting. And then I put the whole Pharaoh and Ball chart up just to see if anything would stand out on that. And I don't know. Nothing's really jumping out at me. New White is kind of a yellowy kind of color. And then White Tie, I think is one of these actually. Not that one. I think this one's White Tie. Yeah, so this one is that, believe it or not. That and that are the same. Doesn't seem possible, does it? Interesting. So, yeah, isn't that weird? They really don't look anything like. Oh. Don't know. Shows you how deceiving a color chart can be, huh? I think I'm still gravitating toward the whites. And then these colors are obviously too dark. I think even too dark for trim, really. I have been looking at Cornus Moldings. They're sort of a polycarbonate kind of. They're like made of plastic, basically. So, I don't know. Obviously, I would love to do plaster, but I think it's going to be cost prohibitive. I'd have to get a proper plasterer to put them up, whereas the poly ones I could put them on myself. And then they also have a rosette here. So anyway, I'll put those links up, or I'll put the photos up and you can see. And that's kind of what I'm thinking, but I don't have any really clear ideas about the color. It's funny, usually I'm a bit more decisive than this, but I'm struggling. I'm struggling. Yeah, this house white is nice, but it's got quite a lot of green in it. And new white is a possibility. It's a little yellower, a little warmer. But then I'm kind of into a yellowy beige. Is that what I want? Or do I want more of a white? Maybe pointing, kind of really brighten it up. Maybe none of these colors. I don't know. I don't know. And then if I were to do a pale color in a green, maybe the pavilion blue. This one already looks too dark. So pavilion blue. This looks too poppy. Don't really love it. Yeah, house white. Tallow. Tallow just seems like almost neon, but maybe it's just in contrast to everything that's around it. Oh, lordy lord. Lordy lord. Sometimes these decisions are tough. Yeah, it's quite a light, bright room for the most part, so... Want to see something disgusting? Ew. Those are all the stink bugs that I trapped the other day that came out of this chest of drawers that I cleaned out. It was so disgusting. There were so many. So I've bought some peppermint oil, so I'm gonna spray it all down. I was gonna have Thomas help me move this to the other room where I intend to press it into use, but Thomas he kind of has a recurring back issue. I think it's a disc issue. Chloe, excuse me, not okay. You've dumped my garbage pail. Anyhow, so needless to say, the chest of drawers has not been moved. I don't want him to hurt his back. So I have just been living out of the actual drawers. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, well, maybe it's time to go and get some more samples and make myself even more confused. Okay, à bientôt.
Somehow we could be friends. We could be more if you wanted to. If you could stand being with someone who betrayed a few.
I'm back in the bedroom and I'm a little bit stuck for a couple of reasons. One is I can't move all of this heavy furniture out of the way, and so I can't really tape off the floor very well. And then two is that I think Thomas has the échafaudage which is that scaffolding thing that I climb up on that has the wheels and rolls around. So I can only kind of go this high with the ladder. And so I'm just going around and kind of prepping, kind of washing the walls and then prepping them, like just scraping bits off. And then I guess Tama and I he'll do the heavy duty plastering and I'll do the light spackling. And then still trying to decide on the Cornus molding. So the only problem with the Cornus molding is I'm worried it's going to come down too low above the window, which won't give me any room. Obviously I wouldn't be able to put these things, these sort of boxes back that hold the, that hide the curtain rails and stuff. So that whole system would have to go, which means I would have to put some sort of bar, I guess, if I did curtains. And I'd have to cut these things, big metal things that seem quite substantial. So I guess I could go with a really thin Cornus molding. The one I had was definitely wider. So, I spoke with Tomas about it. He felt that if I put the Cornus molding, it would actually hide all of the imperfections with the wallpaper on the ceiling. I don't know. I just feel like, yeah. But then we run into what we ran into in the kitchen where we pulled it all down and it was just kind of a nightmare to replaster and all that. So that's where we're at. Still haven't made a decision on a color. I'm feeling quite paralyzed about it. I think it's definitely going to be a white. And the white I keep choosing is the white I have for the rest of the house, which is ridiculous. It'd be nice to do something a little different. So yeah, just trying to make a decision. I'm not usually this paralyzed, but somehow because it's like the room I'm gonna, it's sort of like my room. I want it to be nice and yeah, so. Okay, that's the update. I just have to take a moment to show you the incredible vegetables that we have here. This is one of the grocery stores. It's called Grand-Frais, and oh my god, it's just incredible. I mean, look at these broccolis. They're all so perfect. They don't look like broccolis we get. It's just amazing. So yeah, feeling very spoiled by the products here. Hello everybody, welcome to Q&A. So thank you for all your comments this week. Lots of people liked the white idea or the off-white idea. I guess it's kind of it's a creamy white. Anyway, more about the white to come, or I think I'll put it after this. And so I thought I would just get right to the questions. I'm going to look over here because this is where they are on my computer. So the camera's here. It's a setup. What can I tell you? Okay, so from Kema 5910, how much did you pay in taxes for each year? Well, there's only been 1 year, so. And also wants to know about how much do I pay for utilities, gas, water, electricity per month? And then finally, did I check out before purchasing if the owner had any debts related to the house and such? Okay, so taxes are about 4,000 euros a year. So not terrible, certainly a lot less than I pay in Seattle. And then utilities. So I don't actually have a lot of utilities. There's water, which is about 20 euros a month. There is no gas here, so I don't really pay for that. And for heating, I use pellets. So for, I don't know if you've seen in other videos, downstairs I have this pellet boiler, and with it is this huge kind of like upside down tent that holds 5 tons of pellets. And the pellets, for the 2 years that I've bought them, you fill up the whole 5 tons. I usually do it in May because it's a little cheaper to buy them then. and it's about 2,500 euros to fill it up, and that seems to get me through the winter. I have a lot of the rooms closed off during the winter, as many chateau owners do. So the whole third floor is just cut off. There's no heat up there. Even most of the bedrooms on the second floor, and then the whole grand salon, and I guess I have a bit of heat in the dining room. So I mostly just heat the kitchen, the bureau, and the bedroom I'm sleeping in. So, oh, and the bathroom that I take my shower in. That one's key. So yeah, there's really not a ton of sort of utilities. The expenses come to, pay for people like Thomas to fix things. That's where most of my budget goes. Okay, from Old Wallen, have you considered letting rooms out to guests when you don't have a retreat going? I haven't really wanted to do a B&B situation because often it's just for a day or two. And if I did that with 12 bedrooms, I'd be out of my mind. I'd be making beds every hour on the hour. So what I am thinking about is possibly putting the whole house on Airbnb. So you could rent the whole house and it would only be for a week period at a time. So that way I think a whole family could come and rent the house. And then I could just disappear for that week while it was being rented. So I may do that. I'm just kind of gearing up to do that. There's a few things that I'm looking into right now. So one of the things that I found out is that I kind of need to be on a star system that they have here in France. So there's like 1 to 5 stars, and you have to have certain things in the house. So it just helps the taxes. If I have no stars, it's like 2% that I have to pay, 2% per person per night. Whereas if I have even just 1 star, it's like 0.5%. So I'm looking into doing that. And once I have that all figured out, then I'll try and figure out how the Airbnb might work and see if I can compare it to others. So you could potentially rent the whole house for a maximum of 15 people. After 15 people, I jump into a different tax bracket as well. So I'd have to limit it at 15. So, okay, Tabby Smith, FH70V. I was wondering what the seasons are like where you live. Do I get snow sometimes? I have not seen snow here yet personally. I have seen pictures, so I think they get snow occasionally. It's been pretty chilly. It's been almost 0 degrees here, or 32 degrees. But next week it's going to get up to the 60s almost, like it's crazy. So, climate change. Okay, from my own little house, 471. What is Bruce's plan? Still house hunting? So that's the first question. I think Bruce is going to be coming back perhaps in the middle of March. So we have cottage work starting again. We have a roofer coming who's going to start kind of the beginning of March. And at the same time, they're going to be redoing the facade of the cottage. So with that comes a scaffolding. So the roofer wants to use the same scaffolding that the facade people are using. So I think that's all going to happen around the first week of March. So Bruce is going to kind of come in the middle because we want to put in a window that's going to affect the facade. So he wants to be putting in the window kind of while they're doing the facade. Anyway, I think that's kind of what we're thinking. And how long do I get to, is he still house hunting? Sorry. I think he is not for the moment. I think he has his funds tied up in Toronto right now. So he kind of has to maneuver funds around. So I don't know quite what his timing's going to be. We'll see. How long do you get to stay in France this time? So I could stay in France. Right now I have a 1-year visa, but I think I just renew it every year, and I can renew it, I think, up to 4 years. And then after that, I apply for an even longer term visa, which I think lasts 5 years. And then I think after that, you're basically considered a resident. So I think from here on in, I can stay as long as I want. Obviously, I have kids living at home in Seattle, in my home. So there is a little bit of going back. So as it's turned out, I've been back kind of every 6 months. and that seems to be working out okay. I'm going back in June for Olivia, my daughter. She is going to be graduating with a naturopathic medical degree, so I'm going back for her graduation, which will be fun. Okay, do you have to go back to the US after a certain number of months? I think I've sort of answered that. What's happening next in the cottage? Also kind of answered that. Does work have to stop because of the instability of the rock face? That is a good question. So update on where we're at with the cliff. I've had the town people come, and they are basically going to pay for a scan. I guess they can do this scan and determine how stable or unstable the rock face is. So once I know that, then I think that will dictate kind of next steps. And I think that where the cottage is actually pretty stable, so I'm hopeful. I do think that there's another portion near where the rock fell that's going to have to still come down, so that's what we need to determine. Tomorrow we're having some people come from a department that seems to be in charge of people's safety. So who knew there was a whole government department for people's safety? How cool is that? So I'm unsure of what they actually do or don't do. I'm not sure. So they're just coming to assess tomorrow, so I'll know more after that. So that's where we're at with the rock face. Okay. User HY31J9IN7Y. Have you found a new job in the IT area? Alas, I have not. Yeah, that's been a bit of a hit financially. I have just been making my budget for this year, and I'm a little wishing I had that job back, but I do not. The vendor that I work through is still looking, but so far nothing. So that's how that goes. Okay, next is Dewdrop 4330. Is there any romantic interest between you and Bruce? That's a tricky question, I guess. Bruce and I have known each other for 35 years. We get along really well, and it would be great. It's like it's the fairy tale romance, I guess. For me, anyway, I can't speak for Bruce, but for me, he's a good friend, and I think he would be happy for something more romantic to be there, but for me, I'm just not there. It's hard when you've been friends with somebody for so long. So I adore him, and I love spending time with him. So maybe that's enough. I don't know. Okay, moving on. Okay, from Piano Lady 543. Have you considered at some point getting a baby grand piano for the chateau? Since you will have groups staying there, chances are very good that there will be one person who can play well. It would be very cool. I should probably get a piano, but for right now, it's not high on the list of priorities. So there's things like chateau roofs that I have to consider. So it's all sort of a matter of prioritizing the funds for each year. So, but if somebody would like to donate a grand piano to the chateau, I'd be more than happy to accept it. So there we go. Okay, from YT Viewer, what is the long-term plan to live in France? I don't know how the visa system works, and if that's even an option. So I think I've kind of talked about that. I think I will always be going back and forth to Seattle. I have kids, and that's just the reality. So yeah, probably go back and forth every 6 months or so, just to check in and make sure the house isn't falling down. So, and then I've explained already the visa stuff. Okay, what else? What prompted you to buy a chateau in France? Are you eventually moving there full-time? Well, I'm pretty much full-time now. So that's from Chef Mags. What prompted me? It's hard. It's kind of a hard question to answer. I think I've answered it in previous videos, but basically I was bored with my life. My kids have grown up, and I just wanted to do something totally crazy. And I always had this idea, how fun would it be to buy a place in France? And in my head, it was just going to be like a little farmhouse or something, a little garden, and that was it. I had this idea of a chateau. But then during the pandemic, I started watching all the Chateau channels, Anna and Philip and Stephanie, and kind of, I think it was Anna and Philip that got me really thinking, partly because they reminded me so much of a young version of me and my husband Aaron when we had small kids and we bought a house in London and we were fixing it up and just doing exactly the same thing. Then we bought a big house it was a big sort of wooden Victorian house in New Jersey, and we fixed that up. And so it just kind of all came flooding back. And then I guess with the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and somehow that was bringing up memories as well. So I think it was just sort of this whole sort of coming together of forces. I don't know what else to call it. So then I just thought, well, what a fun way to go and visit a country, go and like look at real estate. So that's how it started. And I did one trip, but didn't really find anything, although I looked at probably 10 or 12 different properties. And then I had a reunion with the school, the people that Aaron, my husband, went to school with in Brussels. And so I thought, well, I'm going to Brussels. Let's just tack on a little trip to check out more chateaus. And that's when I found this one. And I really honestly didn't think I was going to find one. I thought it was just a pipe dream and that, the idea would burn out. But then I found this one. I was like, I think I could make this one work. Like this one, kind of, I'm seeing it. And so anyway, here I am, half the time thinking I'm insane. And the French are completely fascinated by me. I think they're just like, she lives in this huge chateau all by herself. So what is she doing? But they think it's pretty cool, I think. So, and I think they're just so pleased to have somebody in the house so the house isn't falling down, and somebody who cares about it and is really interested in, French culture and learning and all of that. So it's been definitely an adventure. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Although some days when I have massive rock falls in my garden, there are days where I think, what have I done? What have I done? Okay, from Maria FD7RE. What's your town's population? Oh gosh, I was going to look that up before I did this. I think Agen is about 35,000. Pont-de-Casse, where I actually am, I don't know, it's probably 6,000. I don't know, it's pretty small. Okay, from Henagal 7360. Was the house tested for lead paint and lead pipes? Yes, it was. It's very extensive. It's pages and pages and pages long. There was a lot of lead paint on the shutters, which is why I was so concerned for those people who were painting the shutters last summer. No masks, nothing. So yeah, sanding away. That was a little disturbing to me. There are really weird places every now and then where there's lead paint, but it was just so obscure. They measure like every inch. So there were no lead pipes. And then there was one asbestos pipe, which is a downspout outside that, it just basically said, don't touch it, it'll be fine. So that's it. That was as much as, the hazardous stuff there was. So most of it was on the exterior of the house. Okay, and finally, did you speak French before you bought the house? If not, how did you navigate the language barrier? So growing up in Canada, I had to speak French in school. So I had some basic French. And then when Aaron, my husband, and I lived in Brussels, I was able to do nothing in terms of working. So I took a lot of French classes. But that was in 1991. So I hadn't spoken French in probably 30 years or whatever. So when I first got here, it was pretty rusty, but certain things came back. And then I started with the apps. Certainly, if you've watched my videos, you know that I've been touting Babbel, but I also use Duolingo. I've tried Lingoda and taken some of their online classes, which, they're in-person classes, so they really keep you on your toes. So I've kind of done it a lot of ways, but mostly I'm learning just by being here. Like I went to a dinner party last night where everybody was French. And although some of them were speaking English to me, I was just trying to like hang on for dear life, trying to like follow conversations. And I can generally get the sort of the grand idea about what's being talked about, but the intricacies, not so much. So I'm getting better at listening and understanding what people are saying, but I'm not necessarily great at responding back. And I make some really funny mistakes sometimes. So yeah, it's just all part of it. So I'm learning more just by being here and having to navigate life in French. And it's actually terrifying because when the phone rings, sometimes often Amazon will call and they're lost. They're lost, and I'm barely getting the fact that it's Amazon on the phone, let alone trying to navigate them in. So yeah, it's been interesting. It's getting better, but I think I need to step up my game a little bit and get some real in-person lessons going. So that's the next challenge. Actually, the real next challenge is getting a driver's license. So unfortunately, I have to do a full driver's license test and driver's test, and do it all in French. And I'm really petrified about doing that because, oh my goodness, it's tricky. I've been doing test problems and they do everything they can to trick you. They show you a photograph and ask you a question, and then it should be really obvious, but meanwhile there's like some little thing hidden in the photograph that you were supposed to have noticed, but you didn't. So you fail that test, and so I'm really nervous about doing that. Unfortunately, I come from a state in the US, Washington State, where there's not a reciprocal exchange of permits. Some of the states, if you come from Pennsylvania, you can just trade in your driver's license and get a French driver's license, but not Washington. It makes absolutely no sense to me why some states have reciprocation and others don't. So that's where I'm at. So that's going to be a good test of French. Okay, so that's it for question answers. I hope your burning questions have all been answered. Keep the comments coming. Thank you. I got lots of approval on my idea of a white scheme in the bedroom. So, and I got lots of sort of interesting ideas. So thank you. That they do help. I do read them. I don't always have time to reply to them all, but I often do read them. So, and you guys come up with some excellent ideas sometimes. So thank you. Okay, à bientôt.
Running round and searching for a place to fall. There's a time for us. I know we could have it all. If you stay for a while, I will show you I can make the call.